Speak to your county councils. They're there to help you. Say what's happening in this area. Keep an eye who goes onto the local council websites or any properties you have in a particular area. Look at their website, see what they're doing. If a county council is spending money, they're doing it for a reason. They don't spend money for nothing. Welsh Assembly government, prime example. They'll spend money like it's going out of fashion if they think for 1 second some company's going to move into Cardiff and start employing hundreds of people. So look at those things. They can make a positive impact. Again, if you've got a big business moving into that area and you've got some tenants who are due to move out, speak to that employer and say, I've got a lovely property just on the road from your factory, offices, call centre, very competitive rentals. Do you want to come around and look at it? All about being cheeky and seeing what's out there. How much would that have cost you? Most county councils, free phone number, 0800, give them a bell, speak to an idiot for 10 minutes, then find a decision maker. But simple calls like that can make a big difference to you. Hands it was thought of doing anything like that before. Well done. Don't just copy him.
No, different areas.
Ah, yeah, here we go. Domestic. But things like...
I work for local.
Right, but it's right, if you ring you guys up, you're full of information, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you might not be, but I'm saying... But at the end of the day, the county councils are there to help you. Never be afraid to ring them up and say, are there any big businesses moving into this area? Chances are it'll be in the local press. 450 people moving in, jobs being created with a call centre in Reading or Swindon or Slough or whatever. It has a positive impact. So you then start looking at your rental income and saying, can I squeeze another 50 quid a month out by putting some new tenants in it? Things like that. And that's all about reacting to how the market is at the moment. It's not all doom and gloom. Okay, protecting against threats to your long-term income. The area. What's that word I'm going to use? Or 2 words, depending on what type of Britain you're from. Exactly. Just check the areas out. If you're buying something, as I said, for £40,000 or £30,000 in a Glasgow council estate, it ain't going to be your family home for the future, believe me. But if you do a bit of due diligence, you'll understand what the areas are like. Speak to the county councils, get some crime reports, things like that. Because at the end of the day, 40 grand is still 40 grand. It's your money that you're spending. So make sure that the areas you're buying in have some kind of long-term, some longevity to them. As I said, same thing again, speak to the county councils. If you've got a council estate, suddenly the county council gets some money from all the council tax that we pay, and they suddenly decide that 90% of these council properties are going to have double glazing put in. Who's got council properties at the moment that they're letting out? Yeah? Any of them, before you bought them, had things like double glazing put in, new kitchens, things like that? Look at county councils and see who's doing that. If they're spending money on properties, then it has a positive impact on the rental income as well. Things like that. It's all about, using a little bit of this, being cheeky, using your phone, using the internet and seeing what's happening. And that's how you look to protect your investment.
I also got a grant for one of my properties to be improved for heating.
Yeah.
So they put insulation in it for double glazing.
Go onto the energy conservation websites, things like that. There's lots of areas now, lots of these people like British Gas and all those kind of wonderful benevolent type organisations that will give grants for insulation, for, changing your boiler at a reduced price, things like that. If you can get away with spending £300 and getting them to pay the other half of it, and it has an impact on your rental income, then look at it. It's not, if they say no, then they've said no. But if you can get it for free or subsidised, then great. Liverpool with the Victorian properties there, they had a £10,000 EU grant available because they wanted to improve basically the fascias of these properties. So they were doing the windows, the gardens, the front walls, the gates, things like that. All has a positive impact. It's all doorstep appeal. If you can say to somebody, this is my rental property, doesn't it look lovely? Then chances are if you say, and it's £450 a month, in actually fact, I only wanted 400, they'll pay the 450. So things like that do make a difference. Mix up your portfolio as well. Don't go all, private housing estates, expensive properties. Get your cheap and cheerfuls in there because they're the ones that when the market does pick up and first-time buyers do actually have an ability to buy again, they're the ones you'll sell quickly. So if you ever need to get some equity out of a property or just flog it and pull some money out of it, if you've got a property you bought for 60k now and it's suddenly worth 90k in 2 years' time, and the products are back out there, the first-time buyers are out there and they're buying, you've made 30 grand. And it's not hit your property portfolio in any particular way. It just means you offloaded one cheap property, but it's paid you 30 grand. So, don't look purely down the expensive property route. I don't think anyone here has looked at over 120 or 130, have they? investment-wise? No. Yeah, but as I said, HMOs, things like that, they're different. But if you're looking at, a typical 2 and 3 bed flat or house or whatever, if you buy it for 60,000 and make 30 grand on it in 2 years, that's not a bad return. Flogging one house isn't going to kill your portfolio. It's a nice way of getting some money back. So look at things like that. So mix it up. So if you've got some new builds, if you've got some HMOs, if you've got some flats, if you've got some houses, and you need to offload, then see what's in demand at the time. If you need the money, if you don't, keep hold of them. Get tenants in there for 18 years and never let them go. Same thing again, tenants. Look at DSS and private. Who walked into this room at 10-ish, quarter to 10 this morning and thought I'd never have DSS? Hands down. Who at 10 past 2 thinks they'd never have DSS? So, don't spoil it now. Don't put one. You wouldn't have DSS.
No, I wasn't.
You are, there we are then, yeah. So I mean, yeah. Borrowing. I mean, it's one of the things that James has covered off as well. Look at different forms of borrowing. Secured, unsecured. Business partner, family. I'm not saying take your old nanny over to Switzerland and put her into some dodgy clinic and then leave her there. But look at family. Look what's out there. See if you can get funding from there. There's a few ideas. Cha-ching! A few light bulbs went on then, isn't it?
I said if you can take away one good idea to
Exactly. It was straight home, swissair.com. Nan. So yeah, so things like that, mix your borrowing up. Don't think that you have to do it all through one particular source. Things like interest rates, if they increase dramatically, you need to look at changing potentially who you're lending through. So it's not a case of, as James has said, stick with the same person because you've been there for 20 years. Change with how the market changes. Never be afraid to contact your bank and say, I think you're fleecing me left, right and centre. Give me a better rate or I'm going elsewhere. Because what's everyone screaming out to do at the moment? Even though they can't lend, they're still trying to lend to good investments, which is what you're seen as an investor is seen as a good investment for them. So, barter with your bank. Sometimes you'll find the demand for rentals in an area drops dramatically. Why could that be? Anyone from the West Midlands? Longbridge car plant, prime example. Huge car plant, one of the biggest employers in the area, shuts down. Suddenly you find that people can't afford to rent, they have to move areas, things like that. So be aware. And this is another reason why you need to be aware of what's happening and doing due diligence, even while you've got properties there. If you suddenly get wind of the fact that one of the biggest employers is potentially going to shut, then think about your get-out clause, think about your get-out strategy. Any questions on that? Any questions on anything we've covered off so far? Yes, sir. Are you all right now, are you? I was worried.
I think so.
I've got no liability insurance to be doing any of this. So.
But
You-
with housing benefit people,
Mhm.
I started from with, normally you pay a month's rent and 6 weeks holding deposit.
Right.
But the housing benefit people, we used to get them ringing us, the council ringing us, said, will you accept it, some bond thing, instead of the 6 weeks holding deposit. And that's, sometimes you just want your 6 weeks, 4 weeks rent and 6 weeks deposit. But they don't give them that. They pay the rent, yes.
Yeah, but they won't pay the deposit.
That's right, yeah.
If you speak to a county council, do you mind if I ask what area of county council do you work in, or what?
Yeah, but I deal with children's services.
All right,
That's
okay.
on their side.
Okay. Anyone who's dealt with county councils, okay, if you speak to them, what they normally have is an organisation within the county council that deals with bonds. So what you'll basically get is somebody will act as a guarantor, so will actually give that bond to the actual person. The county councils, you're right, the benefits agencies will not cover off a bond, but there are processes in place to do that as well. They understand the fact that if you're a landlord, you are looking to get at least 2, 4, 6, whatever, I'm not going to break into song, 2, 4 or 6 weeks worth of rent. So they're called bondsmen, basically, and what they'll do is they'll actually front the bond for a tenant. But same thing again, speak to the county councils and find out who that is.